So with that, Senior Commander Green, go ahead, take it away and share your screen if you like.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. I am going to do just that. Share my screen. I can. All right, there we go. Let's do that. So thanks, John. I appreciate it. I appreciate the invite. How about a sound check? Am I sounding okay?
Sounds good to me.
And you can see my screen?
Yep.
Outstanding. So I am the Senior Commander of the Special Operations Unit. I have the task for the local planning for the federal trial. As John said, I'm here fortunate today to be with Commander Berrigan, who is our Community Engagement Commander. You'll hear from her here shortly. And then I also have the Senior Commander of the Central District, who I'm sure many of you are familiar with, Jesse Molnar. And then Commander Berrigan also has a couple members of her team here who have been working behind the scenes really hard, communicating with the community. So I am going to show you a brief PowerPoint here. You're all familiar with the location of where this is going to happen at the Federal Courthouse. It offers a few challenges, but relatively, it's on the edge of downtown. I'm going to go through the traffic management plan with you here towards the end of the presentation. So we will talk about that. There will be a couple road closures, and you may have noticed that a fence is going up currently around the courthouse. That construction should be completed tomorrow or for sure by the end of the week. So you can see our mission and our goals there. Really what we want to do here before the trial on the 20th is educate our visitors, our residents, you all from the business community, so you have a good idea of what to expect. So we want to do that to improve safety, travel information. And we know there's going to be some inconvenience that this is going to cause. The good news is, and I'll say this right in the front end of this, is we're not expecting a lot of issues. The information we have is that the trial will begin January 20th. Obviously, that's not in stone, but that's I would be willing to bet that's when the jury selection will start, give or take a day. And then it'll run potentially 2 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. None of that's in stone. That's just kind of our best guess in talking with those that are involved of the duration of these types of trials and how long they last. But that's the window that we're planning for right now. So the info we have, we're not expecting a lot of problems, and if we do have problems, we have a plan to deal with them. We have been a part of a few of these trials now, not locally like this one, but we have been a part of a few of these trials in the metro area now. We have a much better feel for them, and we're tracking the events during them and surrounding them. And if we were to have problems, we have plans and resources and a lot of really good partnerships in place to deal with those. As you can see, we're in that planning, preparation, coordination stage right there. At 20th is that anticipated start date, and the length is unknown, but again, we're thinking 2 to 4 weeks, could go longer, could be done after a couple weeks. One of the things we're spending a lot of time on is outreach. This meeting is included in that, but this isn't exclusive, obviously. There's a lot of other outreach meetings going on. I'm going to turn it over to Pam Berrigan just for a few slides here, so she can talk to you about a lot of the information and communication that's happening in our community.
Thank you for the invitation. As you can see, my name is Pamela Berrigan. I'm the commander with the Community Partnerships Unit. I have one sworn officer, which is Sergeant Eric Reitz, and I have a team of 6 civilians, which we have 4 community engagement specialists and 2 crime prevention coordinators. And they are the ones who have been doing all the heavy lifting in reaching different stakeholders that are going to be impacted. As you can see, we have the list of all the business meetings that we're going to conduct. There's only one that is going to be in person. And then we also have some of the residential business meetings that we're going to conduct as well. This is the area that we focus in primary. That is where we have the main impact of our contacts. We have also distributed through the downtown officers, to the rest of downtown, different flyers that we made available to them. This is my team right there. So what we're doing is basically community engagement to the basics. We went door to door, talking to businesses, talking to people, making sure that they have information, that they feel comfortable with what they're getting, telling them where they can get their resources. The main focus was to make sure that everybody at least felt comfortable, or at least had an idea of where to reach out so they can get information that they need. As long as we created some flyers that were distributed. I hope all of you got an email. If you didn't get an email from me with all the flyers attached, please let me know and I will make those available to you so you can distribute it to your contacts. Safety information. I'm gonna touch this really briefly. This is some of the flyers that we distribute. There's 4 of them that we're targeting. So this one talks about parking lot safety. This has been one of our main questions. People are asking, what am I supposed to be doing when in the parking lots because people coming in and out? So we made this one specifically for that purpose. Then this one is here for your business. So some planning, preparing, and partnering. Those are the main focus that we want people to know, that is how they need to prepare and how they can reach out to different contacts to get information if they need it. This one is specifically for residents in their different in the different buildings in downtown. It's a little different than the business because we want to make sure that people are aware of the surroundings, especially when they come from private parking into garages, people around, things that they can be left around the building. And this one here is one that the community engagement specialists have been using with some of the known people that have come to our city to express their concerns. So we would just want to make sure that they come and they feel comfortable coming to St. Paul and they knew what is expected, kind of the rules of engagement, the do's and the don'ts, if they're planning to come to protest or to let their voice heard, something that needs to be peaceful, and at least they know kind of what our expectations of their behavior. And that's all I have.
All right. I hope that gives you a little context on some of the communication that's going on. Let's keep moving here. So there's a lot of planning that goes on behind the scenes. We meet with, obviously, our federal partners, the U.S. Marshals, which their jurisdiction is that Federal Courthouse building. We meet with the Federal Protective Services. They have a role, the immediate surrounding perimeter of that building. And then everything outside that fence is obviously St. Paul Police Department. So that's our responsibility. So we're partnered obviously with Ramsey County, as well as our other local partners from other jurisdictions. So we plan and we train together for this purpose. So for an example, the State Patrol, the DNR, other surrounding counties, police departments. So one of the things we learned from previous civil unrest incidents is that resources become important. right? So we have done a lot of work in partnering with other agencies because we all know that we're kind of all in this together. So if that day comes, if we need that support, we have it. We have those partnerships. We're building those partnerships before we need them. So just know that stuff is going on behind the scenes every day. And as we prepare for this particular incident, again, we're not expecting problems, but if we do encounter problems, we have a plan to deal with them, and we have the resources to deal with them. So public safety is right at the top of the list. And then the First Amendment, protecting people's First Amendment rights. We know that 99% of the people that we encounter during these situations want to do it right. They're out there, they are following the rules, they want to be peaceful, but they want to exercise their constitutional rights. And that's a priority for us, to provide that safe venue, that safe location for them to do so. So that also is very important. Property protection is incredibly important. As you know, the downtown area is extremely important to us, with the businesses and residential, all of it together, people coming and visiting. So we have added steps, taken added precautions, are putting additional staffing into the downtown around the immediate area, but then also patrolling all of downtown as well during this entire trial phase. And then that prevent. We want to do everything we can to prevent violence or any kind of civil disobedience. So a lot of the communication that is happening right now, some of the communication that Community Engagement Unit is doing and that my unit is doing, is we talk to event organizers, those that are intending to come downtown and to be heard. We are communicating with, we are building relationships with, because again, we're all in this together, and we want to provide a safe place for everyone to be heard, but we also want to make sure everybody knows what the expectation is when they come anywhere in St. Paul. And it doesn't matter if it's downtown or if it's in the eastern part of the city or the western part of the city. Everybody needs to know what the expectations are and what the response will be if they're outside of those rules. So all that stuff is happening every day. So here's another slide to show that traffic plan. If you need a visual, I'm a very visual person for road closures. So I'll just talk about the road closures first. Right, starting on January 18th, Robert Street will be entirely closed between 4th and Kellogg. 4th Street will remain open. Light rail will remain open. Jackson between 4th and Kellogg will be entirely closed. And then Kellogg, one lane of Kellogg, and that's on the north side of Kellogg, and it is the north turn lane of Kellogg, will be closed. Otherwise, Kellogg will remain open for eastbound and westbound traffic. So you can expect those closures. Right now, there's some construction going on around the courthouse to put up fencing and what have you. So there are partial road closures happening. The parking lane on Robert right now is closed. And the inside lane of Jackson, the bike lane, is closed. And those will remain closed, and just because of the need for erecting that fence. However, Robert and Jackson will remain open until, like I said, January 18th. Then they will be closed through the end of the trial. I don't know when the end of the trial will be. I wish I did. Nobody does. But again, we are kind of planning around that 2 to 4 week, but again, that's not in stone. That's just kind of a best guess. So please keep that in mind. Then the detours that you see in anticipation of those road closures, you can see where those are. There'll be adequate signage posted to identify those detours and to make sure people are alerted to them beforehand. One additional note that Commander Berrigan reminded me of is that the ramp off of Jackson, we're working on a plan for access on the west side of that ramp. So there may be more to come on that. But there will be a range between complete closure of Jackson and then also allowing exit vehicles from that ramp. But there's more details on that yet to be decided and planned out. But for right now, please plan on those closures. What else do I have for you on that? So this purple box on Robert, that is what is being designated as a public gathering space. So you will notice that that box will have cement barriers around it. They're about 12 foot in length, I believe. They're construction type cement barriers, but they will completely outline that street. So across the top here at 4th, and then along the curb line on Robert, and then across the bottom of Robert here down by Kellogg will be all cement barriers. And that is to provide a space where the public can gather, where people can exercise their First Amendment rights, and they don't have to worry about vehicles in that space. And that will be there for the duration of the trial. The road closures, we will have emergency access only at the south end of those two closures, the one on Robert and the one on Jackson. I think, click one more slide here. All right. So that is what I have for you. The Skyway access to the federal courthouse will be closed. Should not be significant for anybody other than know that you won't be able to access the federal courthouse through this one small stretch of Skyway across 4th Street during the trial. Other than that, the Skyway will remain open, business as usual. We do have a plan in place if there is a need to close the Skyway. That information will be immediately directed to DSI. And then my understanding, and I'm going to turn it over to Commander Molnar here, is that there will be a communication process from that point. Jesse, you touch on that for me?
So during the initial civil unrest that we encountered last year, I know that Dan Angelic and Tom Ferreira reached out to several downtown businesses, actually everyone that wanted to be in the information chain, gathered all contact information from them, from those businesses, so that they could send out alerts via their get.gov email. So that notification system is still in place. So I would encourage that any businesses that provided information at that time, they make sure they check their contact person that's going to be receiving those emails, that we have that communication between DSI via Dan Angelic or Tom Ferreira. We have that available to us. I can send out the email addresses for both of those contacts if people want to make sure that they have the correct information on file with them. But that same system will be in place. So it's just really important that whoever that point of contact person is, that they know how to get a hold of whoever's on site and able to lock doors down if needed. And again, this is only in an emergency situation where the police are going to be notifying DSI, we have a problem, or we want to take a precautionary step to lock down the Skyways. So we need to put that in place. So I can add some more questions about that later in a follow-up meeting, but Dan Angelic and Tom Ferrer will be the two contact people for that. And we also have Dan Angelic's cell phone number that he can be reached directly. So if there's any questions on that, we can take those as well.
All right. I'll just follow up by saying that with the same thing I started with, that first of all, we're not anticipating problems, but if we do have problems, there's a lot of planning and a lot of preparations that are going in place to deal with those problems. So I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. We will stay here as long as we need to take questions. Understand there are more information sessions that will be happening that Commander Barrican also mentioned. So if you had somebody that wasn't able to make the call today, excuse me, there'll be other opportunities for them to hop on one of those sessions as well. But I'm going to turn it back over to you, John, and maybe we can take some questions.
Sure. Thank you, Senior Commander Green. Thank you for the presentation, Commander Molnar and Commander Berrigan. Some of the questions we already have, I should first start by saying we had a few people that got stuck in the waiting room or couldn't join. I think we had a cap on it of 100 people, and we had more than that. So some people came in late. We apologize for that, but the meeting is being recorded. So we'll send that recording out to everybody that received an invitation to this meeting. And along with that, Senior Commander, they asked if this PowerPoint could be made available to them as well.
Yeah, you have it on the recording though, correct?
True that, but if we had it separately, can we get that?
Yep, I can get that. I can absolutely get you the PowerPoint.
And then one of the first questions is, do we know at all that, or if this trial will be televised like previous trials?
It will not be. It will not be televised. There will not be a social media platform either in the courtroom. And that's what we are being told. Obviously, again, that could change in 5 minutes, but right now it's been made very clear to us that it will not be televised.
Okay. And as you know, and I know, federal trials run a little bit differently than state trials do, which is normally what we see on TV. Federal trials are not normally telecast over TV, so I would not expect to see that on TV. And there's a question about the residents' meetings. That will be in the PowerPoint. Those meetings will be listed in the PowerPoint that we'll send out. So you'll, if you're looking for attending one of the resident meetings, it'll be in the PowerPoint. And there's flyers that were also sent out previously.
And just know that in that residential meeting, there will be nothing more presented in that meeting than you're getting in this meeting. This meeting is more comprehensive than that residential meeting will be.
There's a question here that says, can businesses expect to get communication at the close of deliberations? I think that is referring to some type of maybe advance warning that a verdict is coming in. If not, maybe we can get something new on that.
Yeah, and just so people know, and I know a lot of people think that the police department gets advance warning on things. We really do not. It really, I'll be quite honest that we didn't learn of the Chauvin verdict any sooner than anybody else did. So we are tracking much like everybody else does in the community. So yeah, that's the best I can tell you there.
Yeah, and I think that Troy, can you share a little bit of what the communication plan will be from the city, Twitter or websites or anything like that?
Yeah, the two best vehicles for communication is the St. Paul Police Facebook page for daily information. If something becomes more urgent in as far as more timely to get out, then you can then the Twitter account, the St. Paul Police Twitter account, that our public information officers are coordinating every day, 24/7.
And let me add that in addition to that, the PIOs are going to make a website active for the city of St. Paul. So you have to go to the link of the city of St. Paul, and there will be something down there that will take you to updates of the trial as well.
And you'll be able to access that through that Facebook page. That link will be provided on that page.
I don't have any more questions in the chat. I see Sin City Tours wants to be added to the email address list for Skyway closures. We'll make sure that DSI has that. So the question about getting added to the Skyway closure question, contact DSI, Dan DeJelic or Tom Farrar are the contacts there. If you don't have them, reach out to me or the Downtown Alliance or BOMA. We have those contacts. We can get it to you so that you can make sure your email address is on that list to get any updates for Skyway closures should they happen. Pat Wolf, you've got a question. Why don't you go ahead?
Thanks, John, and thanks to everybody for putting this together for us. My question is, can you do a map that shows more of downtown St. Paul, that shows then the street closures, the Skyway closure, you know, the public gathering space closure, so that if we send that map out to our tenants, they know kind of where they are in which building, and then they can kind of see it all of downtown oriented in relationship to the items that you've got on this map.
Is that I'm sorry, is that a question for me or for John?
Whoever wants to answer it.
I think that the question just is to put the information that you presented on that map slide into a whole downtown map to get a perception of kind of where all the other properties are located. And yeah, we'll come up with something. We'll work with the PD and get something together for that and get it out to this group.
Thank you. And then just to follow up on the Skyway system. So at this point, unless there's an issue or problem, we're still going to plan to be open until 11 p.m., 7 days a week. And are there additional police services that are going to be on the Skyway?
So to answer your question, yes, to be open that late, and then additional resources, yes. So the primary focus will be during the operational times of the trial. So while events are going on, or if we have information, otherwise the regular security plan that the downtown beat is executing every day will be in place.
Good. Does anybody have any other questions? I zipped through. I didn't see any hands up. If somebody's got something, go ahead and say it.
My question is with the event going on with the federal case and then the increase of your staff for the PD here, do we have a number of the increase of your staff for protecting downtown during these times? And if you can email some of our buildings that information so we have a better idea of what type of coverage you guys have for the for those times and then event.
Yeah, so to give you actual numbers, no, I don't have that. But I will say that during the times of the trial, you can expect to see a much increase in police presence, just in doing random patrols. Also on the perimeter down there at the federal court building. You'll also notice increased presence of Ramsey County deputies as well. So in part of it too is the contingency planning that we have for additional personnel on top of that are on standby to respond if we do have information of something that would be happening. So you will definitely see a change in the presence of law enforcement, but I can't give you an exact number for any one time or one day.
Okay, thank you.
So I know that the downtown beat has got some extended patrols in the skyways in the evenings currently right now. Maybe Senior Commander Molnar can talk a little bit about the extended patrols that they have got going on right now. I'm sure will continue through the trial. And then I think the simple answer is that there will be extra teams of officers downtown as well as on the street level as well as in the skyway. And I think it's safe to say that on the 20th, you'll see a jump in officers around. And then when the case goes to the jury, you also see another jump in the amount of personnel that's in the skyways and on the streets downtown, just in advance of verdict coming in and being prepared as best as they can to handle whatever's thrown our way.
Yeah, so we did increase our staffing. That was for the change of the skyway hours. Now this is obviously a whole different situation here that we're adapting to. So we're changing our tactics to focus more on the times the trials that are going to be in place. So that 7 to 5 o'clock time when we expect an increase in activity and increase in traffic downtown related to the trial. So that the resources that John referred to were more geared towards the later skyway hours. We're just going to make some modifications so that we have coverage. And to Mike's point from Golden Rule, you won't see a change in your police services. It'll be seamless. We're still going to provide all 911 response. You actually will see an increase in skyway presence. So that should comfort some of those issues that we have downtown already, and any additional things that pop up. So as far as your regular police service, yeah, you shouldn't see a change in that whatsoever. I just want to say one thing, John. I think it's important to remember that the partnerships we've cultivated downtown, we couldn't actually ask for this situation or a situation like this to be held in any other place better than downtown, just because of all of the relationships we've already built. We obviously went through the pandemic. There was a lot of constraints and challenges with that. We partnered up. John's group with the street teams, we've kind of come through all these conflicts very positively, and we've actually lowered crime rate throughout that, and we've seen positive changes. So this shouldn't be seen as a huge obstacle. This is just one more challenge we have in front of us that we're gonna adapt and overcome and get through and be ready for the next challenge. So thanks, John.
Thank you, Senior Commander. We have a question, kind of a clarification about the entrance and exit for the Lower Town ramp on Jackson Street. We don't know quite yet what those access points are going to be, but we'll communicate those when that decision is made.
Correct. And yeah, our planning time frame window for this has been very condensed, and that has a lot to do with just when we were notified that it was actually going to happen here. So we will be controlling access to Jackson, most definitely. I would anticipate a full closure. However, I know that members on my team are working with you all down there on that ramp, the owners of that ramp, to figure out the best way we can utilize that west side of that building and still meet our safety objectives that we have to. So there's still some more to come on that. We're doing everything we can to keep business as normal, traffic flow as normal down there, but still a couple obstacles to overcome on Jackson Street there. We're aware of that.
And any new road closures will be communicated through the normal communication channels of the Facebook page, both city, police department, any usual methods.
Correct. Absolutely.
I think we asked a question about public transportation services. We know that the light rail will continue to run unless they are interrupted in some way. And the bus stops downtown may be relocated a block away, but they will run in the normal times.
Yep, exactly. Should not see an impact with mass transit down there.
Okay. Any other questions for Senior Commander Green related to the trial?
Thank you, everybody. We appreciated the invite, and a lot of good work happening and a lot of good communication happening. John, thank you to you and your team for putting this together.
You bet. Thank you for being available to us. And hopefully we won't need another one, but I know you'd be happy to jump on if we do. Okay. All right. County Attorney Choi, I see you're with us now. Certainly want to offer you any time you would like to have to kind of tell us what's new with your office, whether trial related or any other topic.
Yeah, well, thank you, John. I was just actually on the phone with your old boss and he recognized your voice. He says hello, Chief Axtell. Happy New Year to everybody. Thanks for the invitation to just kind of give a quick update. I don't have anything specific to downtown, but there are some things that I guess there's one thing that I do want to say. First, a comment. I just very much appreciate I think it was in September, October, and a little bit into November, the St. Paul Police Department had added patrol and visibility on the corner of 4th and Wabasha, just like many of the people on this call who are dealing with a lot of livability issues right out in front of my building. They're just a horde of things that were happening late summer, but just that presence really made a difference for not only the people that work here in this building, but also in the courthouse as well, because we had gotten lots of complaints about that. And so I appreciate that. And I know that there's going to be more visibility during the trial. But I hope, and if there's any way that I can be an advocate for just increased visibility just in downtown after the trial and just going into the summer, because I think one of the issues here is that in order for us to ask people to come back to downtown, we need to have that sense of safety and security from an employer perspective. And I think that's a big part of the public safety strategy of just getting more people down here, because I come to work every day and it's like a ghost town. There's just nobody in the skyways and downtown is just empty. And so I think we need to work on that. But a big part of that is just the police presence, which I very much appreciated. The second thing I want to just talk about, I'll give you a little personal reflection. This past week, I was on vacation between Christmas and New Year's, and I came back to the office, and we had a number of some horrific things that happened in our community. One of which was a carjacking that happened on Grand Avenue. So I had the opportunity this week to meet with the husband and father of the victims in that particular case, the 3-year-old child and the mother. And so we had a meeting, and I gave them the update on the status of the case and the update on the investigation to the extent that I could share public information. And then we had started having a conversation about kind of how we got to this place, about just the rampant carjackings that are happening across the metropolitan area. And in addition to that, really all across the country. In large urban jurisdictions. It's a complicated thing, but I talked for about 15 minutes about the story that we've been working on in St. Paul about addressing carjacking. And we actually started this conversation about a year ago. If some of you may remember, maybe it all feels like the same because we're in the pandemic. But it was January and February and March of 2021 where we had the worst months for carjacking in the city of St. Paul. In fact, I think in one of those months in February, we might have had about 18 or 19 of them. And this is a newer phenomenon. We didn't even track carjacking per se before. And so in March, we got to work and we've done a lot of things. There's going to be but I told the whole story to him. And one of the things that he had mentioned to me, which was a very poignant moment for me, was that he didn't know any of that stuff. And he actually said he felt better hearing about the work and the efforts that have been put in place throughout the past 9 months. And there is a reason why we do have less carjackings in the East Metro versus what's happening in the West Metro. So we are going to tell that story. There is going to be a newspaper article coming out this Sunday. Both Chief Axtell and I will be participating in it, and I'm sure other people who have been a part of this effort. we have been kind of careful about talking about this because the whole conversation is very delicate about keeping people at the table. And but over the course of the past 9 months, I think we've gotten to a place where we can now talk more publicly about it. And with the encouragement that I heard from the person that I met with about people needing to hear more about what's happening in the background and to give them a sense of safety, and that there are things being done to try to make sure that we are protecting the public. So we're going to start talking about those things more. And so I'll look forward to the newspaper story on Sunday. There's too much detail to go into, and then I'll look forward to talking with all of you again as we enter into the new year.
Great. Thank you, County Attorney Choi. Are you willing to take any questions if anybody has anything?
Sure, absolutely.
Sounds like you're getting off the hook.
Well, everybody could use an extra 10 minutes.
Sure.
I could. If I'm the last person on the agenda.
Sure. Well, you're kind of the last person. Just want to wrap up with Joe Sparks from BOMA. If you have some comments or something you want to clarify, the stage is yours.
Hey, John, thanks. So I appreciate folks who jumped on this call. It's going to be an important few weeks here in terms of planning, preparing. In addition to this call, BOMA will be running a membership meeting next week on Thursday, where we'll be having a panel. John Bandemer is going to be part of that panel, along with Senior Commander Mulder. And then we're also bringing in Shane Zahn from the Minneapolis DID to, again, share thoughts about preparations for it, and also taking a look at maybe what Minneapolis did that was successful that we could learn from a both building perspective, but just a downtown community perspective. So, if you haven't heard about that, you want to sign up, either reach out to me directly or just contact the BOMA office, and we'd love to get you signed up for that. Just also as a note, we're going to be doing a recognition for Chief Axtell at that meeting. The first 15-20 minutes will be to honor him. So again, I think that's a great time for people to be there and express their appreciation for all the incredible work that he's done over the time that he's been chief and really part of the force. So anyways, that's going on. We also have a small group that we've pulled together, and John's going to stay linked into that because we want to make sure he's aware of communications, but a small group that basically they are the, we'll call it the Friends of the Federal Courthouse. So the buildings that are adjacent to the courthouse on the north, south, and west side of it, or east, west, and north side of it. There's no building on the south. So they've gotten together. We've had PD involved in some conversations. They're going to continue to stay linked in, since if there is any activity going on that's getting out of hand, especially in the skyways, they're going to probably feel it first. And so they want to make sure that they have a strong communication link with themselves, and yet still staying closely in touch with PD, who will obviously be monitoring the situation closely and communicating with those properties. So again, it's just part of the collective effort that's going on downtown. And John Bandemer, I certainly appreciate all you've done to play a leadership role in this. And we'll cross our fingers that it's going to be nice and quiet over the next 30 days, and hope for that kind of outcome.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. I think we're about to wrap up. I'd like to remind everybody that the Downtown Alliance has a monthly public safety check-in on a Zoom call that we bring in St. Paul Police, Metro Transit, Ramsey County Sheriff, the St. Paul City Attorney, the Ramsey County Attorney's Office to share updates with the downtown community about what's going on in their offices. We have those monthly. If you're not on those calls and you'd like to be, I put my name, my email and phone number in the chat. So reach out to me and we'll get you added to that invitation list to attend those monthly meetings. I think it's the third Tuesday or third Thursday of the month is what we scheduled out for this calendar year. That's, I think, all that I have. I want to thank everybody for getting on the call. I would expect that this generates a few more questions about the trial process and how St. Paul will respond to that. So please feel free to reach out and ask the question. If we don't know what it is here at the Safety Communications Center or the Downtown Alliance, we'll find an answer for you and get it to you. We appreciate your time. I'll give you back, I guess, 4 minutes only, but 4 minutes is better than no minutes. So thank you very much. Everybody have a good rest of your afternoon. Take care.
Thank you.